In this video, we're going to be checking out 15 just wildly creative projects from the MakerPipe community that were shared in 2024. We've got everything from a fan boat, propeller guard, all the way to gold mining equipment, and just some really creative projects for gardening and just all kinds of awesome stuff. Now, all of these are made with electrical conduit, which you can find off the shelf at Lowe's, Home Depot, and places like that. And then those pieces of conduit are put together with steel pieces of hardware that we manufacture in South Carolina and ship to all the builders all over the country. And that's what all these projects are made out of. And so we'll highlight just some really creative things that people have done this past year with those combination of materials. So first of all is this boat, this fan boat cage. This comes from Dan, and this is really cool. As you can see, it's a fan boat. We'll see it in action here in a moment. But basically just built a propeller guard for this propeller on the back of the boat. And I'll be honest, projects like this make me kind of nervous, but it looks like he took some precautions, added self-tapping screws, so it's not just the normal connectors that rely on friction fit. He's actually got self-tapping screws and bolts as an added safety measure, which is good. You know, we want you guys to build safe. We love seeing creative projects, but just keep them safe and just make sure you're taking precautions, which it looks like he did. And just a really cool project. And we'll look at this one here on this video. Here's the fan boat. And there he is on the bank in the river. And there he goes. It's so wild just to think that these like little steel pieces of hardware that we make here, you know, people are using them for stuff like this in the country. But, you know, there it is going down the river, and just a really, really wild project and just really cool to see. So thanks so much, Dan, for sharing this. Love seeing that. Next up is one of my favorite projects from 2024, which is a ladder crane, which I didn't realize was a thing already. Apparently you can buy these, and I think they're kind of expensive, but they're made so you can just easily get roofing materials up on the roof. And basically, Ken put one together with EMT conduit, and you can see the conduit just runs through the rung on the ladder, and he used some intricate bends and things here, just a few MakerPipe connectors, and then a Harbor Freight, I think, not a winch, but I think it's just a hoist from Harbor Freight that he just bolted to the top of this, and then it allows you to just raise up those materials. And we got a video for this too, which is really cool, where basically here it is, you can see just kind of grab onto that handle, kind of push it away from the roof for a second, and then you got somebody down low who's loading the shingles onto this bucket or whatever you want to call it here, and then you just raise it up, and now you've got all your shingles on the roof. Super cool, really creative, and I don't think it was too expensive to make, because I'm sure it already had the ladder, or you can rent the ladder, and then you just need a few pieces of conduit, a few connectors, and then this Harbor Freight hoist. So that was really cool. I love seeing that one. So thanks so much, Ken, for posting that video and sharing that with us. Next up is what I've been calling Top Golf at Home, because it looks like on the back of this house, this was shared by Griffin, and on the back of this house, they've got a sloped area here. Not really a whole lot you can do. It's not like you can put a pool back there unless you just want to constantly swim downhill. He basically just wanted to utilize the space. They've got a very tall deck back there. And so basically just utilize this hill area and wanted to practice golfing at home, and made what I'm calling just like a Top Golf bay at home, and just used the EMT conduit to build this giant, cubular. I don't know if that's a word. Is tubular is a word? Cubular? I don't know. A cubular structure here, as we can see, using EMT conduit, and it's just made to kind of match the slope of the backyard. And then he just stands on this back area here, and then just can hit the ball off of there into the net, and then I believe goes down, and because it's just kind of utilizing the slope, it'll just kind of go down to the bottom and then rest down there. As you can see, looks like there's a bunch already down there. Then probably just lift up one of the sides and just collect all those golf balls, and that makes it super easy to collect. All he needs now is just some scoring system somehow, and he can turn this into a full-fledged Top Golf bay, or you could just make some kind of automated system that the balls at the very bottom get shot back up. Probably not shot back up, but some kind of system to bring them back up. That'd be pretty cool. But this is already super sweet, and love seeing this, so thanks so much for sharing it. Similar to that is another project for practicing a sport at home, but here is kind of tricky because this was shared by Bree, and the multiple kids, and you got one of them who wants to practice basketball, and you got one of them who wants to practice hitting. So what do you do if you've got two kids? You want to make sure you're supporting them both in what they're doing. And so basically they built this batting cage, as you can see, where if one of the kids is playing basketball and practicing, they can use the batting cage still, as they are back there, just practicing hitting, just a very short batting cage. But, son's done playing basketball, going inside, whatever. So now they can then actually slide this batting cage apart. So you can see they're moving some stuff around inside. And I'll skip forward here a little bit. Where basically Bree used a really creative solution, which was fencing wheels that you normally see on like gate fences, attach those to empty conduit somehow, and basically made it so this batting cage nests together and then slides apart, and now it turns into a massive batting cage that takes up the whole driveway, and they can utilize the whole driveway now whenever they don't need to accommodate the basketball situation. So really cool, really creative, and just an awesome project that's really fascinating to see, and Bree did a great job with that. So thanks so much for sharing that. We love seeing it. The next two builds are wild to me. I didn't even know such things. I don't even know how some of these ideas people come up with them. But the next two builds are mini lawnmowers or bush hogs. And basically it's just a system that you can attach a weed eater to and turn it into a lawnmower of sorts. And this works really well, and I imagine this is created for specific situations. I think they have a certain type of grass that they need to cut at a certain height. I'm not entirely sure that whole situation, but I'm sure there's a reason for it, unless they just like making mini lawnmowers. Sometimes we see projects, people just like having fun. We'll see some of those here later on. But just a really fascinating build, and really cool to see all kinds of cool stuff in this. They incorporated, of course, it's got wheels. They achieved the axle, maybe using the common method that we've talked a lot about in the past. Just if you're interested in that, link down or ask the question down below in the comments, and I'll link a video to you. And just a lot of creative techniques on how they attach the weed eater to this frame, the steering mechanism. I mean, it looks like there's cabling on this, so really went all out to make this work really well, and it's really cool. This one comes from Frank. We've also got one from Michael, and this is really cool. Very similar, but just a kind of a smaller scale, and this one gets really close to the ground and does kind of turn it into more of a lawnmower of sorts. But I think maybe it's kind of a accessibility thing. I'm not entirely sure if that was why. I'm pretty sure that was why. Just instead of, I think he had something maybe like a shoulder injury or something, so he wasn't able to hold up the weed eater all the time. So this just makes it easier to rest on the ground and then roll it and still be able to weed eat and get in those tough to reach areas that you couldn't with the lawnmower, whether it be a riding lawnmower or a push mower. And so that's really cool and obviously really creative, but also awesome that it, kind of accommodates that as well. So really appreciate you guys sharing these builds. Really cool and creative. Next up is a really awesome build. This is a compost tumbler. I love seeing this one because it's just a really, obviously we're repurposing conduit. It's made for commercial applications and wiring, electrical work, and we're repurposing that into DIY projects because it's such a great material that is underutilized, and that's why we made the connector system for conduit. So we love seeing people repurpose materials and use them in all kinds of creative ways, and this is a perfect example of that because this is just a framework attached to this wall here that goes up. And then it looks like the builder, let's see, this was built by Paul, I believe. And so it looks like Paul basically just bolted some caster wheels to this framework and then used a water catch rain barrel attached, or just kind of sits on top of this frame. And then just using some common hardware, some piano hinges and just a handle and some latches, cut a hole in this water barrel. And basically you can flip it open, throw your composting stuff in there, and then they fastened a piece of wood on the outside with maker pipe flanges, a couple pieces of conduit, and basically just made this whole apparatus they can grab onto and rotate it around. They can latch the door closed, and now they've got a compost tumbler that is super creative. One of those things where, I'm always blown away how people look at the connectors and then somehow make the connection, no pun intended, to what their project idea is. To have something in mind and then make that connection on things like this just totally blows my mind. It's really cool to see and just a really awesome build. So thanks so much for sharing that. Next up is a project from Jim, and this is one of the wildest ones from 2024. This is a toy hauler camper that he put together using EMT conduit, and I love this one. We've talked a lot about this one on the channel. We have a whole video interview with Jim that you can check out, but this is so awesome because he basically took a flatbed trailer, built a skeleton framework out of maker pipe and EMT conduit here that's on top of the trailer, and we can see that kind of better here. And then on the outside of it, he's got plywood, and then on the inside, he just used some of the foam insulation panels and basically just cut sections that fit around the skeleton of the frame that he made with the EMT conduit. So now he's got an insulated camper that he created here so he could pull his four-wheeler in there, and he's got a bed that collapses and makes room so he can put
the four-wheeler. It's made so you can, haul the four-wheeler inside of it. And you can buy really expensive toy haulers that are $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, maybe even more than that. And he wanted to come up with a cheaper solution that was more cost-effective and just had the bare minimum, everything he needed to camp and go out on the weekend. And that's exactly what he created here. And so he's got another four-wheeler that goes inside of there, and it's kind of made so you can do that easily. And there Jim is, which is really cool to see, one of his camping adventures. Just a totally fascinating project, and just a really cool way if you're doing something that needs insulation. This is such a creative project, and has spun up all kinds of ideas, to make, tiny houses or all kinds of cool stuff. So we love this. Check out that interview with Jim, and we really appreciate him sharing all the cool stuff with this. Next up is a gardening project shared by Jasper, and this is really cool. Looks like you're just standard. We'll use the word cubular again because I don't know if it's a word, but I'm going to make it one. We've got a nice little cubular, rectangular garden enclosure here. Looks pretty normal, but then, wow, the whole thing, you can get access to the entire garden really easily using these really creative panels that Jasper put together. And they're just using the PVC hinges that we've talked a lot about. They're just aluminum hinges. Use a self-tapping screw to secure those to the EMT conduit. They're made for PVC, so they're a little sloppy on conduit, but they work well enough, especially for projects like this. And we can see got great access to the garden now, and basically just attach those hinges there to the framework and just made it where the top opens up first. You can see the whole top there kind of folds up, and then this front panel kind of folds into that one, and then you can just rest it on top of the build. Really simple and creative, just utilizing those hinges to make that, and makes it really easy to access the garden. You don't have to worry about, adding a whole framework here for a gate and then trying to climb through that gate to get inside. I made an enclosure a few years ago, and that's the way I did it, and that was kind of a pain. I'm 6'6". Even if you're not that tall, it's still kind of a pain, and this just makes it really easy to access the whole garden. So it's a super creative idea from Jasper. Love seeing this one this past year. This is another awesome build that was from Paul, and this is really cool. Nice and simple project, but still just really creative. And he utilized eye hooks to make a hinge, and we talked about this in a full hack video a while back that I'll link down below. But essentially, it's just a conduit frame, and the conduit runs through the eye hooks that are attached to the side of the building here, and then he's just got a rope going up to a pulley up top, and he can just pull on that rope and just get access to his kayaks here. And it's just a really great way to make a hinging storage solution that doesn't need really any expensive solutions, lifts or hinges or anything crazy like that. Just some eye hooks, some rope, and a pulley, and just make a shed kind of extension off the side of this building here. And just a really great idea. Love seeing this one. This one came from Paul, and just a really creative idea. Love seeing this one a while back. Next up is another super creative one for gardening. This is probably one of my favorite builds of 2024. Because of just how creative it is. Again, just looks like a standard garden enclosure here around this garden bed, but both sides lift up, totally turns into a transformer, and it becomes this fold-out extension that you can easily access both sides of the garden. Look how much access they have from both sides here. Instead of just making a gate like we were talking about, where you're just able to get in one section and you got to reach and try to grab all the plants and stuff, you can actually just access the whole entire garden just by flipping these up. And there's a lot of creative techniques in here that made this possible. We can see, I think the hinge solution, just use the EMT conduit hinge connector that we make and just left the bottom half of it loose. Or I guess technically the top half of it loose, so you can hinge it, and then the panels are just slightly higher than the roof of the enclosure just to accommodate for that hinge, and then those just fold down, and you can secure those, and then the legs just kind of hinge up with the T-connector that we manufacture. And so basically you can just fold these panels down up against the bed, as you can see here, then secure those in place so no critters, kind of squeeze their way in between the panels, and then, fold it down here. We can see the legs folded up in there, and then you can open it and boom, access to the garden. Totally wild, super creative, and just a really awesome build that was shared this past year. We love seeing that one. All right, now talking about hobbies that don't have any idea how you get into it, but this is one that we love seeing this past year. It was a video that actually went pretty viral on YouTube, where essentially this was built by David, and he's got a YouTube channel, David Rogel, and he's basically built this gravity-powered rotisserie, like chicken rotisserie, that, as you can see there's the chicken on top of the fire being roasted, and he built and incorporated EMT conduit and maker pipe into this. There's all kinds of creative stuff. I'll definitely link both of his videos down below so you can check it out. Don't want to give away too much of it, but as you can see there, he's got a weight on one end, just some water in a a jug there, and then it goes up, and he's got some maker pipe and conduit at the very end of this on the other side, and just a whole apparatus that makes this slowly turn the chicken. And here's the maker pipe and conduit apparatus. It's so cool. Like I said, one of those hobbies. I don't know how you get into it, but it's fascinating to me, and I think it's just really awesome. And I absolutely love seeing maker pipe and conduit incorporated into it. Definitely check out both of those videos. He's got a full, really long video explaining the whole process and the build and everything. So definitely check that out. Just really cool. Thanks so much for sharing that, David. Next up is a classroom project. Always love to see educators use maker pipe and conduit. This was shared by Charles for his class, and basically they made a gyroscope, and we got another video. This is their website, givemeaChanceutah.org, and I'll link this down below if you want to check out the video yourself. But essentially, just to kind of teach the students about physics and different things, they wanted to build this gyroscope using maker pipe and conduit and a bike wheel, and there you can see it in action, and just really cool to kind of utilize this for education in that regard, and a lot of hinging pieces and just some really creative techniques in this just to kind of show the kids how a gyroscope works, and that's just really awesome and always awesome, like I said, to see maker pipe and conduit used in that regard for educators and in the classroom. So really cool. Thanks so much for sharing that, Charles. Really cool to see. This next one is a roof rack from Charles, and again, looks like your just standard project. We see a lot of roof racks in the community, but just some really creative techniques in this one. And I also just love the Samurai as a vehicle choice. It's super cool to me. Love seeing that. And basically, it's he's using some of the empty conduit hanger straps, as you can see, bolted to the body in various places. And that is securing this framework where he's got some jerry cans there attached to the frame. He's got some, actually the light bars attached to the vehicle. But then he's got a roof rack mounted on top. But then what's really cool is he's got this canopy that slides out. And basically, he attached PVC to the framework. I don't see exactly how. I think it's just bolted on the side here. I don't know if this is a custom bracket or something that he made, but essentially there's a piece of 1/2-inch EMT conduit inside this long piece of PVC, and then the sunshade here, the canopy or awning, whatever you want to call it, is wrapped around that 1/2 inch, and so it will just slide out. He can just pull that out of this PVC container whenever he's ready to stop using it. He has a crank here that he grabs onto and rolls it back up into the PVC, and then he's got a maker pipe frame, as you can see here, that kind of extends out of the telescoping clamp on the side of the framework. And if we go back to the original picture, we can see it all extended out and turns into a nice awning. If he's doing some camping or just adventuring, he can, stop, pull over, pull this thing out, and then have a nice place to relax out of the sun on the side of the trail, wherever it may be, which is super cool, and just a lot of creative techniques in this. So I had to include this one. Really awesome build. Thanks for sharing it. Last but not least, I've always got to mention Alan whenever we talk about crazy builds, because he has been making gold mining equipment for the last few years with maker pipe and EMT conduit. And of course, we've got a video of it in action here. You can see he's got a rig, and I think he actually sells these rigs now. It's called the Rattler. So definitely check out his YouTube and his website. I'll link those down below if you want to check them out. But basically, he's building just kind of more cost-effective solutions for people that want to go gold mining kind of on a budget. They don't have to spend a ton of money on equipment. And it's just a really great way to kind of utilize public land and go out and do some gold mining. And we did an interview with him a while back. Definitely check that out. He's an awesome guy and just really fascinating. And this is just a really cool hobby and this thing that he does. And it's really awesome to see him use conduit and maker pipe in this way to build these different rigs and make them cost-effective and accessible for people that want to get into this hobby. So that's really cool, and is always just one, like I said, we have to mention with these wild builds. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and checking out these builds with me. If you want to see any of them in more detail, they'll be linked down below. I'm also going to link our 2024 build book, which has every build I can find from 2024 in it, and you can download that. It's a free ebook, and you can see all the builds and links to all the projects in that book, and I hope you guys enjoyed that and get some ideas from that as well. Thanks, everybody, for all the support in 2024. Really excited for 2025 and what it has to bring. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below and consider subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Take care.